Hey everyone, and welcome. If you're on a product team, you totally know the feeling, right? You're shipping features, you're closing tickets, you're pushing out code, but are you actually moving the needle? Today, we're going to dive into a framework designed to fix exactly that, OKRs. Let's get into it. Man, the legendary baseball coach Yogi Berra really nailed it with this one. And it is so true for product development. I mean, how many times has your team worked like crazy on a new feature, only to look back and wonder, what was the real goal here? This feeling of just building without a clear destination, it's a huge problem, and it's what we're here to solve today.
So, here's our game plan for today. First, we'll talk about those common pains, then we'll define what OKRs actually are. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of writing really great ones for your product, figure out the rhythm of using them, see it all in action with an example, and then wrap it all up. Sound good?
All right, section 1, let's be real for a second. Have you ever been in a sprint planning meeting staring at a backlog that's just full of features, and you get that nagging feeling that you're just building stuff? Like you're a ship without a rudder, just kind of drifting on this endless sea of tasks? This is the heart of the problem, the classic feature factory trap. It's that place where success is all about outputs. How many features did you ship? How many bugs did you squash? But the real question, the one that separates good product teams from great ones, is about outcomes. What was the actual impact on your users? How did it help the business? If you can't answer that, you might just be in the factory. So how do we escape the factory? Well, that brings us to the solution, OKRs. And look, this isn't some super complex bureaucratic process you have to learn. It's actually a pretty elegant, simple framework that companies like Google and Intel use to cut through all that noise and just focus on what really truly matters. At its core, it's super simple. OKRs just stands for objectives and key results. It's basically a method for taking those huge, ambitious goals your company has and breaking them down into specific, measurable, and, actually achievable steps for your team. Now, here's where it all clicks. The framework has two parts. The objective is the what. It's your destination. Where do you want to go? It should be kind of big, kind of inspiring. Then you have the key results. These are the how. They're like the signposts on your road trip. The specific, measurable things that tell you for sure that you're on the right path to get to that destination. So the whole thing really rests on these three powerful ideas. First up, transparency. This means everyone, from the CEO down to a junior engineer, can see what the goals are. No secrets. Second, accountability. There's clear ownership. You know who is responsible for what. And third, and this is a big one, alignment. This gets your product team, your designers, and your engineers all rowing in the exact same direction. No more silos. Okay, theory is great, but let's get our hands dirty. How do you actually write an OKR that's going to drive real results for your product? Well, let's talk about the most important rule of all. This, right here, this is the golden rule for product teams. Your key results have to measure outcomes, not outputs. See, launch the new user dashboard is an output. It's a task. You can check it off a list. But increase user activation by 15%, that is an outcome. It measures the impact of what you built. This single shift in thinking is how you go from being a feature factory to a value delivery team. So that leads to a pretty critical question, right? We keep saying key results need to be measurable, but what does that actually look like? How do you take a goal that feels kind of fuzzy and turn it into something you can actually track? You add a number. Seriously, it can be that simple. Improve user sign-up is a nice idea, but it's totally vague. How do you know when you're done? But improve the user sign-up by 20%? Now we're talking. That is a concrete, valuable key result. Your team knows exactly what they're shooting for. There's no ambiguity. It's also really important to know that not all OKRs are created equal. You've got your committed OKRs. These are the goals your team is basically promising to hit. They're non-negotiable. But then you have aspirational OKRs, your moonshots. These are the big, bold, maybe we can do it stretch goals. For those committed ones, you should feel confident you can get there. For the aspirational ones, hey, hitting 70% is often a huge win because it means you pushed yourselves. Now, here's a common mistake. Teams write their OKRs and then just forget about them until the end of the quarter. No, they are supposed to be a living, breathing part of your workflow. And that's where the OKR cadence comes in. It's the rhythm that keeps this whole process dynamic and, actually relevant. So this rhythm is usually quarterly. At the start, you set them. Then every single week, you do quick check-ins. How's it going? Any blockers?
Then, around the middle of the quarter, you do a more formal review to see if you need to change course. And at the end, you score your results and, this is the most important part, you reflect on what you learned to make the next quarter even better. When it comes to scoring, let me be clear. This is not about a pass or fail grade. A simple system like this works great. Red, amber, green. The goal isn't always to get 100%. Sometimes a 60% on a really ambitious goal is amazing. The real value here is the conversation about why you landed where you did. It's a tool for learning, not for judging. Okay, let's make this even more real. One of the superpowers of OKRs is how they create this amazing alignment that just flows or cascades through an organization. Let's look at an example to see how a big, high-level goal turns into focused action for a team on the ground. So check this out. Imagine the company has a big objective to reduce support headcount. A manager's key result to help with that might be to reduce the number of support tickets by 30%. Now here comes the magic cascade. That manager's key result becomes the objective for their product team. The team then says, okay, how do we do that? And they set their own key results, like automating 50% of manual reports. You see that? That beautiful, clear line of sight? The team knows exactly how their day-to-day work connects to the bigger company goal. All right, we have covered a ton of ground, so let's bring it all home and boil it down to the key takeaways you can bring back to your product team. This is your framework for getting focused. So why should you care about all this? Well, OKRs give you clarity. They cut through the noise. They drive alignment, so everyone's working together. They create accountability for real business outcomes, which is how you escape that feature factory. And they give your team permission to be ambitious, to shoot for those moonshots. Feeling ready to give it a shot? You don't have to overcomplicate things. Seriously, you can just start with a simple Google Sheet or an Excel file. As you get the hang of it, you might look at tools you already use, like Jira or Asana, which have plugins for this stuff. Or eventually, you could even move to dedicated platforms. But honestly, the tool doesn't matter nearly as much as the mindset. And that brings us to our final slide. I really want to leave you with this one question to take back to your team. Just for a minute, forget all the features, all the tasks. What is the one single outcome that, if you could achieve it in the next 90 days, would fundamentally change your product for the better? Your answer to that question, well, that's the starting point for your very first objective. Thanks for watching.